there, working so hard, saving so much, going through thick and thin to get our hands onto money. But once we have that money, is it that is it? Or is it just the beginning of a very beautiful life? We'll be hearing your stories, and you've just seen Sheikh Bosa's clip there talking about giving women money. I'm sure the clapping should have been much louder than I could hear. I think my microphone was much low, and therefore probably I missed the clapping. But every woman would want to be given money. Every woman, any woman would want to be given money. Isma, if we can have our second clip, because I just wanted us, once we start rolling, that we can settle and therefore, have peace of mind without having to worry at all. There's a clip number two, which is the clip number one. Clip number one is the clip number two now, finished with Sheikh Bosa. If we can have that second clip, please. If you can play that, whenever it's ready, once I see it on screen, I'll just come in. But I would like to implore you to hear from you, wherever you are. Remember, if you're just joining this conversation for the very first time, you just raise your hand. You can just click on the point that talks about, well, hands up, and then we'll pick on you to come and share your experiences. Everyone in this program is an expert. I can see the clip on screen, Isma, so please go ahead. Let's start getting some money lessons.
Hey everybody, it is another beautiful day in New York, and I am back with my friend Chelsea today. We are going to talk about how to change our relationship with money. You know how we talked about what emotional spending is and why we do it? Now she's going to offer some tools and tips and tricks and ways to get back on track. So let's go meet up with her, see what she's got to say. Thank you so much for making time again.
Thank you for having me again. I love it.
If you don't know who this is Chelsea Fagan from The Financial Diet. Tell them all the wonderful things you do.
I'm Chelsea Fagan. I am...
She's very smart.
Well, within reason.
Yes.
I fall on a bell curve. I am a writer. I'm the founder of a media company called The Financial Diet. We're actually in our offices here in Manhattan. It's very exciting. I'm very excited to have Katie here. We also make a YouTube channel as part of what we do called The Financial Diet. And I'm someone who loves talking about money because it used to be a very taboo subject for me, and now it is not.
Yeah, we were just joking before we started filming that we both live in like taboo, stigmatized areas, and I love it because we have to talk about it, right?
We do.
So today we are here to talk about how to change our relationship with money. In our previous video, if you haven't watched it, I'll link it in the description, we talk about emotional spending. What is it? Why do we do it? But now I'd like to roll into, because I love to offer tips and tools, how do we change that relationship so that when we are making purchases, they're good purchases? And nothing's 100%. I know we're still gonna impulsively buy that one thing that we probably shouldn't have. But yeah, so first, what is emotional spending again, just in case people forgot?
Emotional spending is going to be any kind of spending that is more tied to a heightened emotional state than to any real need in your life or any real value in your life.
And if someone's worried that they are emotionally spending, what's the first thing they can do?
Don't. No, so it's a couple things, right? You want to look back at the purchases you've made. Again, a tip I mentioned is going through your statements and highlighting every purchase you don't remember or that you feel bad about.
And that was mind-boggling. It's one of those insert emoji of, because I guarantee there's a lot of them.
Oh yeah, there are always a lot of them.
We have to do QuickBooks for businesses if anybody's keeping track of their own expenses, and you have to look at it and be like, what was that, and put it in the right category. And sometimes I'm like, what was that?
Exactly.
I don't remember that. And that, I was like, wow, that's gonna be eye-opening.
Totally. And if you can't even remember them, that those purchases were not valuable to you. Another thing is to always have something at home, put it in your budget, like a little break glass in case of emergency kind of feel better kit that has all your favorite things in it, so that if you have a particularly bad day, you have something to go home to and you don't have to rush out and make an even worse and not budgeted for purchases.
Yeah, because it's catching you when you're in that emotional state.
Exactly.
Which is honestly I'll be honest, that's when I make my worst decisions. When I've had a really shit day and everything's going wrong, and then I'm like, I'm gonna do it, screw it. Totally. I'm gonna go buy the thing I want.
And lastly, especially for online shopping, give yourself total permission. You say, if after 24 hours I still want this thing, I will buy it. And give that permission, and then wait 24 hours, and 9 times out of 10, you'll be like, in the clear light of day, I do not need that thing.
And I think there's something big about permissions, because I don't know if you guys feel this way, but once I've given myself permission to purchase it, I like don't want it anymore.
Oh, totally.
Which is a very weird like thought process, to be like, it's the child in me. Going back to the other video, I was talking about how childish I am about my spending. Sometimes I'd be like, I want to do it, and that's why I'm going to. You know, trust me, I might know better. I don't do better. But I think that I definitely, once I say like, yeah, if you want it, just do it, just buy it or whatever. Or I'll talk to Sean and he'll be like, yeah, if you want that jacket, just get it. And then I'll be like, I don't really want it anymore.
Exactly. If it's really valuable to you, you should give yourself permission to buy it. But you need a clear mind to decide what is actually valuable to you.
Yeah, so it's like, take a beat, give yourself permission, think about it, and then go forth if you want.
Go forth
I like
and
that.
prosper.
Interesting. Okay, very cool. So this break in case of emergency, I love that idea. I kind of think of it as like a spending safety plan to kind of stop you from hurting your expenses and your budget. But I'm curious, so when I was thinking about this video, my first thought was like, we're gonna have to budget. And then I was like, I don't want to budget. How do you recommend people start that? Because I definitely have a roadblock where I'm like, that sounds scary and overwhelming, and where do I even start?
First and foremost, remember that you have a budget, you're just not tracking it. You already are spending in different categories at different amounts, you're just not looking directly at it because you don't want to, because you probably know that you're gonna find stuff in there that you don't like. So that's the first step. So even if you're not setting any boundaries on categories, even if you're not changing anything, start by actually analyzing how you are spending. I used, when I first started, an app called Mint because it does it all for you.
I looked into that. Was it helpful?
So helpful.
Okay.
It creates every month like a little pie chart of like, this is what you're spending on this is what is the normal spend, this is, you went crazy in this month. It'll even send you alerts for when you're going over a certain amount in a category.
That's nice.
It really, I'm someone who was very reticent to do that manually, and that really helps, but you can also do it using Excel or whatever is natural to you. But don't, for the first month, even worry about changing your habits or setting limits. Just for the first month, commit to knowing what you are currently spending. Then, once you look at it, I'm sure that there is psychological data to back this up, but I always find that the second you are actually looking at the numbers, you are going to be infinitely more motivated to have control over them, because it's so much easier to justify reckless spending when you're not keeping track of what that actually entails, and you're not keeping track of what that means in terms of your savings or what that means in terms of your goals. So as soon as you get track of those numbers, I find that you probably won't even need a nudge into the next step.
Yeah.
But if you do, the next step is then just deciding, like, you should have at least 1 or 2 categories where you're like, woof, do I really need to be spending that amount of money? And starting to work backwards from there and seeing where you can cut out and start to set little challenges for yourself. Like, I want to save 5% more this month, or I want to spend 10% less in this category.
So it's attainable. I like that. It's almost like, and I think it's because I know therapy realm, so I like try to apply it to what I already do, is like, when I tell people to like try to change the way they talk to themselves about themselves, is like, you have to track it first. You can't change what you don't know. So if we haven't paid attention to what we're spending, we're gonna have to just at least be aware before we can even consider making changes, because how do we even know where we're at? Like, if you asked me today, like, how much do I think I spend each month on eating out, which I love, I'd have no idea. But once I'm able to like see that tangibly and be like, ooh, I like that. Woof, I shouldn't be spending that much money.
It's true. You really need to confront yourself with your own habits, and it's very easy to ignore. It's also very easy to ignore if you're doing just like, profit and loss, essentially. If you're just like, I took in this much, I saved that much. That's mixing everything into one bucket, and therefore less insightful to taking action in individual categories where you actually could make a huge difference. Another thing to remember, a lot of times people look at a budget as restriction.
That's what it sounds like to me.
It is important to remember that it is the opposite of restriction, in the sense that you are giving yourself permission to save more. You are giving yourself the tools needed to save more. That money is still yours. In fact, it's more yours than if you were giving it to a bunch of stores or whatever.
True.
So one of the things that I think helps people psychologically the most in making a budget is having at least one goal that feels really exciting to you. Your emergency fund, which is going to be about 3 months of total living expenses that you have in an easily accessible bank account for in case of emergency, get laid off, your car breaks down, whatever it may be. That's the most important savings goal. It's the most fundamental to day-to-day adult life, but it's not the most fun one. So if you add on savings goals, at least one that is something exciting to you, like maybe a big trip in the future or a new big thing that you've been looking to add to your life, that is going to help really reframe in your mind what savings means and what it means to have $30 more in your account because you spent $30 less on takeout. It means I'm that much closer to this thing that is meaningful to me. If you don't have anything really meaningful that you're saving for, and like it or not, once you get really into savings, something like retirement can feel very exciting and very validating, but for most people it's not going to be the thing that really gets them to make good choices. So you want to make sure you have at least one savings goal that really feels exciting.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's like what brings you joy, what's going to motivate you, because there are going to be days when we have that emotional spend urge, and if we have another goal that we're like, you know what, I know this will pass, I really want to take that trip to Europe or whatever, or visit my mom, I haven't seen her in a while, I don't know, whatever it could be, or buy that sweater I've been looking forward to, that'll keep you going in those moments. And I think that was one of the, like when I was thinking about emotional spending in particular, the therapist in me was like, you're going to have some coping skills so that when the urge to spend, maybe when we don't want to, or that like I can do it, or whatever it is that triggers you, figuring out what triggers you and triggers that spending that you immediately wish you hadn't done, having some different ways to cope with how you feel instead of spending.
Absolutely.
Like
something I think that also gives people a lot of energy towards spending better and being more conscientious with their money is tracking their net worth. A lot of people, this can be tough for a lot of people initially because a lot of people carry a lot of debt, which means that their net worth may be negative.
Yeah, because my student loans could pull me right into the red.
Many people, many millennials in particular, have more debt than assets. But the net worth number, which is basically just what you have minus what you owe, essentially, that number can be incredibly motivating because it's a tangible overall number that gives a very clear snapshot of your financial health and is something very, very tangible to build. Every time you save an extra $100, your net worth increases by $100. When you start investing, when you start having a stronger portfolio, when you let that investment horizon take its course and you start to have that that compound interest playing into it, you get to look at it as much as you want and say, look where I am versus where I was a year ago. And when you use programs especially that will help like chart it on an actual chart, like my husband and I, when we look at our net worth, it's like, ooh, we moved to America, ooh, we got a new apartment, and then it's like, ooh, Chelsea's company started making money, and and you get to really track a very macro picture of the decisions in the life that you're building. But you also get to look at it in individual numbers, which is incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, and I think also, like, I don't know if you think this weighs into it too, but and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong in those comments, but I think that sometimes we have this like roadblock of success financially where, because I'll hear from a lot of my viewers that like they self-sabotage. So they'll see it like going well, like, ooh, things are increasing. Chelsea's company's finally making money and we're doing well. And you see it like bump, 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 and then you're like, and I make a really bad choice because I feel like I'm not worth it. Is that common too, or am I just like making things up?
I would say that probably what is very common with people, and I'm susceptible to this as well, is that people get too comfortable. And they feel like either I can afford to be irresponsible for a while, or they feel like I've been so good I should really reward myself, and their definition of reward is
like crazy.
Is spending too much money.
Because I was like, I do the reward. I'll be like, I did really good today, and I'll go out to a nice meal or something, or buy something.
And I know something that can be
manageable.
That can be manageable, but for a lot of people, it might be something that really does derail their progress. You know, they might be like, oh, I've paid so much of my student loans, like screw it, I'm going to take this, luxury trip to go visit a friend or whatever it might be. And if it's something that you've budgeted for and that you can afford, sure, why not? But it's kind of like, people often, we call it the financial diet in a large part because the only quote unquote diet that ever works is something that you can actually do every day and is part of your life. And people often have a similar relationship to food. You know?
I see such a correlation with that, especially in eating disorders. I think I've talked about this before, but my patients who tend to be on the more restrictive side with food, restrict with money. My patients who tend to be on the more binge or purge, bulimia, binge eating disorder, they tend to binge with money as well. Like they'll overspend all of a sudden and blow their budget. And
it's really difficult also if you have that tendency, which many people do with money, to feel like, okay, I've earned it, or I've been so good, I can afford to be bad for a while, quote unquote, hate that kind of phrasing, but I can afford to be bad. Then a lot of people get on that cycle, well, screw it. Yeah. I already, didn't save anything this month. I might as well just, in for a penny, in for a pound, as they say. And that is the kind of thing that can derail years of work. And again, huge correlation with food, huge correlation with anything that's how we reward ourselves, how we control ourselves. What is the level of value that we feel entitled to at any given time? The level of reward, the level of indulgence. It's really, really hard for people not to spiral with these things, even people who are conscientious.
Yeah, and maybe that's why it's important to see a budget not as such a restriction, because those of us who have that binge urge will feel immediately in this binge restrict cycle where we restrict and then we do an overspend or like some kind of sabotaging behavior. It's more like, how do we find ways like that break in case of emergency? I love that, because then that's still a little bit of a reward, so we're not all or nothing. It's getting out of that black and white thinking. That's really what it is.
It totally
We
is.
have to be like, hey, okay, so I've been working really hard, and for me, I know that I need a reward to keep motivated, so I'm saving money towards this bigger reward, but today, instead of instead of eating out at this place that maybe is like only $15, I'll do the $20 place. And that will be a treat for me. And finding those small ways to reward without sabotage.
I am a child in that regard. Like, I need rewards constantly. I'm like a dog. I'm like a Pavlov dog, and I need my little piece of cheese in order to keep going. So one thing that I highly recommend for longer term goals, things like saving for retirement or building your net worth, is
it's more. If you've just joined us, the program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira, and we are live on 75W Radio, live on Uma Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. I think the two ladies have just spoken about emotional spending, impulsive purchases sometimes, where you just see something and your heart leaps. There are people who have been created in such a way that, they are, especially with ladies, and you'll forgive me, without any offense meant, you are very impulsive when it comes to buying. And sometimes some men would even struggle to go shopping with a wife because they are onto this, then that. The level of indecision can be actually very difficult. But they are also very good at haggling. My mother, God bless her, she's one person who will go and haggle in a way that can sometimes actually make you feel very uncomfortable. She will not shy away from someone coming in and sort of saying, a seller is trade is well showing off their wares, whatever they are selling, and the person might say 30,000, and my mom will look at it and she won't even be shy to say 5,000 or 7,000 of what someone has actually said 30,000. In my heart, I would feel in those childhood days, especially, like running away, because even listening to this conversation was now becoming very uncomfortable. Surprise, surprise. There are times when she ended up with someone coming in at 30,000 and she gets it at 8,000 or 10,000, which then left me wondering whether the person who was selling was just out for a kill, or my mother was just very good at it. the gap between 30,000 and 7,000 or 10,000 is way so wide that it would leave you, wondering. Sometimes she would even send you for binzari spices in Owino market, because we used to own a restaurant for nearly 35 years. And she would send you for bizarre. She's just, well, remain somewhere and just says, go and bring me this bizarre. Bakuteremu court meal, later kachile, later kakare, dine chemfu bagategatem, bakuteremu neka court meal, 15 kilograms. You go, you buy this, and then you come back to mom, you've brought it, she looks at it, Sibiaga David say, and in some instances, you just want to go maybe get in the middle of a window, just turn around and come back and just report that they have refused to take it back because goods once sold, they cannot be returned. But that is who she was, and she managed to get away with a lot and got better bargains. But sometimes, of course, she would get ripped as well, get ripped off as a result. So I'd like to hear your particular stories when it comes to money, how you relate with money. Are you that person who says, "Eh, chiba chiba, I'm going to give myself a treat"? There are people who actually probably even have like a virus inside their pockets, so inside their accounts, that when money is there, they are struggling to keep it. Somebody now actually come out and he will get out a chizike 50,000 and he just says, "Nyewe kunya sento munshaut zgarkam." So the 50,000, until you've burnt it and eaten it and finished it, they won't settle. Are you that kind of person? Are you the person who really enjoys their lives and will just eat the money till the very end and then wait for the next paycheck to come? Or are you that very cautious, very stingy? There are people ngagenda nakwewa sente inazajja naye n'abanga nga ayeekweka obwekwesi in the wallet. You see the person ng'ali nga ayeekweka naye mwennyini nti yeekweka naye aleme kulaba kyali mu kujjamu inside their own wallets. And that can be quite interesting. But there are those people. They are the spendthrifts on one hand, they are the meaners, the misers on the other. What is your experience inside the home? Do you ever get to sit down and say, this is my pay slip, this is how much I get, this is how much I get, this is our budget at home? Is that a conversation that's can happen and it smoothly happens without living with some as a result of having a conversation on money? Some homes have been wrecked by talking about money. Growing up, our parents actually never ever remember, because the fathers were the providers, entire providers, mothers were stay-home mothers, until later on when actually the mothers now almost went on strike to try to do some small business, starting from home, and then because of the expansion, then having to leave home and take it elsewhere. Selling mandazi, my mom was very creative, making mandazi, and would just be there. And I would be one of the touters of the mandazi, singing very comfortably for passers-by. Amandazi sukari namaji, amandazi sukari namaji, and people would buy from me because they found me very funny. That was fine. I think this must be Jusama. And he said, that's what they call it. Yes, is that those people who deny themselves the luxuries? Oh, are they the ones who actually eat everything and finish everything? I would like to hear these stories, because I think all of us ultimately, we are out there in the field. Some are on the road, some are even at work, like NK and Narongo Jari, listening into the program while at work. Hajat Sarah, most likely at work and listening into the conversation. But you are there to make money. Once you have had the money, then what? Is there ever a point of saturation, a point of enough where you think, I've got enough money? I think I would struggle to find such a person, because even Bill Gates or Zuckerberg or Bezos, the Amazon guy, or Elon Musk, they are still investing and trying to find more money. You would have thought that having been declared the richest people in the world, that would have given them some kind of satisfaction that would help them to sort of, calm down. Let's hear your stories, relationship with money, and what your experience has been so far. How do you relate with money? Are you a slave to money, or have you managed, alhamdulillah, to be a master of money, able to eat it whenever you can without any excuses? I have WW, I think. Is it VVVV or is that Vic? Uh, yes, VVVV. Is that Vic who came back in as Vic? Or if you can go ahead, please, and unmute. I think you're a new person here. And Mariam, you can see you there logging on. I don't know why you are putting up. The video is on, and we are able to see you live and clear. VVV, is that Vivian, Vicky? I can see the VVVV there. Please, do you want to go? Be the first one in the ring to share your experience on money. Nze sente tezikyansuza neebase tezikyansuza ntunula. I think there is something that happens when you start getting money. There is a certain feeling. Your urges start changing. N'ebyoyoya bitandika okukyuka. Ogenda okulya mugagga alina ebintu byayoyayo ebikusobera. Ogenda okulya nga alina agaaya tayagala katunkuma. The things that you would have thought, like these are poor person's tastes. But also the kind of things that you start doing. Start thinking about swimming kati natandise okuyita ku mbalaasi njagenda kuyiga horse riding. There are those things ebitandika ng'obulamu olina gy'obutuusiza mu kubutambuza. Let me hear your stories. Haju Sam, I'll come to you first actually. Why don't we just get cracking? What's money all about? Is it Haju Sama or is it even Zaid? I wouldn't tell, but from the writing, I'm almost certain it is Haju Sam. Uma connected there, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. It's none of them.
Yes, sister, is that Habiba?
It's none of them, not Usama, not Zaid.
Yes, not Habiba.
Yes, it's Habib.
No, well, I think I finally got there. The writing was so Osamish that it would have taken me a lot to convince me otherwise.
Maybe
Yes,
we have the same
we are talking
writing.
about our relationship with money. How do you relate with money? Are you friends with money? Are you a slave to money?
I think I'm friendly to money, indeed.
What does that mean?
With money, I don't have much, but I don't really mind spending the little I have.
Mm-hmm.
I treat myself whenever I want to.
Yes.
And I'm not really worried that this one is finished. What am I going to do tomorrow? I don't know. I just started not worrying for tomorrow. If I have something today, I can treat myself, really. I can treat myself.
Mm.
Yeah.
There are people who worry so much about bills, yet there are people who actually spend even when their bills are gone. But in the meantime,
yes,
I have to treat myself.
Of course, I mind about like planning for it, but that one doesn't stop me from spending it when I want to. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, minding about the bills and other things.
And so when you spoil yourself, is it like on holidays? Is it on food?
Yeah, holidays. Holidays when I go in the shops. If I want something, I'll buy the best one. If it's a hijab, if it's a shoe, I will buy one, but a good one, not like 3, 4, which are cheap. I'll just take one which I feel like I want it and it's nice. If it's a holiday, I'll go in holiday. I will go for holiday and I'll sleep in a nice hotel. Yeah, that's it. I don't really mind much about why do I spend this? Why am I spending too much money on myself?
And just laughing. Hajat Kayira is listening in and just laughing because the very words that you're using are the very words that she uses so much.
Yeah.
Sleeping in a good hotel, eating good.
Yes.
Buying a very expensive handbag.
Yeah, I buy something which I want. If it's expensive, I will spend on it. If it's cheap, but I like it, it's nice. But still, I will go for it. I'll go for
And
it.
you don't feel you have not had any regret in your spending, because there are times you might spend and then you think, oh my God, was that really worth it?
No, no. So far not.
And inside your home, then, did you get to discuss money? Is that a conversation that is comfortable, that doesn't need closing doors? You can keep the doors open and you just have a conversation about money with your spouse.
Yeah, sure. Even with my children.
Even with the children, did you go
Yeah.
through budgeting? How much detail though do you give to the children? Because you wouldn't go to, this is what I get and this is what I'm spending it on.
Yeah, we can go even in that, and even for theirs. I tell them also to spend wisely, but not like to be tinge on themselves. So, like,
Yes.
yeah.
Barakallahu people. Thank you very much,
Alhamdulillah.
Sister Abiba. Today I got you in time, and thank you very much. Well, we are talking money and our relationship with money. How do we relate with money? Are we slaves to money? Are we masters of money? Have we managed to make enough money? Is there anything even like enough money? Because quite often that is always something that is, always problematic. Not all of us see money in the same sense. What might be adequate or just enough for one might actually not be enough at all for someone else. Amina Nachiaga says, Assalamu alaikum, just listening in. I'm imagining you would be at work. And so Mariam says, thank you, Sheikh. I knew the video was on. Okay, let's just continue with the conversation here. Mastura, I come to you again. Mastura, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, Hajat Mastura. Hello. Mastura is still thinking. Oh, I've seen Haji Katerega here. Haji Katerega, we have missed you for quite some time. You've not been with us on the conversations for a bit. Welcome back into the conversation. Haji Katerega, are you there? I think that would be Abiba saying in the chat room, I don't think there is ever enough money. Haji Katerega, are you there? One more call for you. Haji Katerega, yes, your hand is up and I'm trying to ask you to unmute, Haji Katerega.
Yeah, okay. I am there, but I'm not ready. Can you give me like 5 minutes? Because
please,
I'm
no
talking to you from work.
No problem at all. Please take your time. We'll hope to hear from you shortly. Thank you very much, at least, for alerting us to it. Yes, Mastura, I'm still trying to get to you. Are you there? Amina Nachiaga had also said already at work. Oh, I still want to talk about money. NK at work. Oh, I've seen Hannah Jamila. There was Vicky who came in and disappeared very quickly, almost as quickly as they came in. Hannah Jamila, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Nyabo Jaibariko.
Onzijeyo. Nga ndi muyivu. Ndi muyivu nnyo. Ndi mulwadde naye. Ensonga ndi mulwadde alhamdulillah.
Osaba Mungu akusubiza ya Rabbi.
Allah, obulwadde nno bunnumya kuviira ddala ng'ekisibo kyakaggwa.
Subhanallah.
Paka kati. Naye alhamdulillah, Allah tasalawo kibi eri
Mungu
omuntu we.
akusuuze. Obulwadde bwennyini bufuuke ensonga y'okuggyirawo ebirala ebinene.
Allahumma amina.
Twogera ku ssente. Hajjati ssente ogimanyi.
Ssente. Allah akbar. Ssente. Nze my side nga kiri nti byakweyogerako. Essente yo si yenfuga. Ku saidi yange ssente ebintu byensinga ojjagalako biri bisatu. Kasita nginoonya ne ngifuna, njagala nnyo okugigaba mu bantu bendabaawo nti beetaavu. Mpulira bulungi nnyo. Omuntu n'abeera awo ng'alina kye yeetaaga ne mmuwaayo. Mpulira obulamu. mpulira ng'obulamu mpulira mu nze ekintu ekisinga obulungi. Ekyokubiri kyenjagaza ssente. Nange ng'omuntu kwetuusaako bintu byetaagisa, naye ngeri y'okubikozesaamu kuzikozesa yani kubayinga bintu era ngula okusinziira ku kyemba nnina, ngula okusinziira ku ekyo Allah kyabeera ampadde.
Oli wa bya bbeeyi handbag akagatto
seekalubiriza nnyo ebibanga bya bbeeyi nga mbirinako obusobozi alhamdulillah. We mba sirina ate era sibeera ogamba nti ate neekubagize, nzikiriza mangu nti alhamdulillah yandiriddewo enkoko tekeko ekijanjalo kitafaawo tukisiike tuli ekyo nga nkitetenkanya nga nakyo nkifumba bulungi mu mbeera ey'okuba nti kimpoomera. Naye nga sente yo teriyo zimala kubanga teriyo yali avuddeyo n'agamba nti nze
ngenda okuzzaawo kubuuza waliwo kubanga bwe ziba nga teriyo zimala olwo omuntu alikomawo kubanga si kwekufiira mu buddu bw'ensimbi kubanga bwe ziba nti teriyo zimala ekitegeeza olina okusigala ng'okunonya kubanga singa oga nti bwe wabaawo ezimala oyinza okubaako woga nti neesiseemu kati leka ndye ku ziriwo bwe ziggwawo nziremu nnoonye naye bwe ziba nti teri zimala kitegeeza nti continuously ogenda kukola mpaka kufa nga onoonya ssente.
Kati wakati mu kuba nti teri zimala omuntu ye gw'osalawo mu ggwe ekyo ye gw'okyeteekamu n'ogaa nti akanzi kakanene kino Allah kyangabirira kugamba ne weteeka nnyo ku puleesa kugamba nti nina okusika kiri nina okusika kino nina okusika kiri wabula gwe wekkakkanya gwe mulimu gwe ng'omuntu kubanga ye ssente bw'ogamba nti oyagala ofune emala oyinza n'okukoleramu ebintu ebitajja kukuleetera mirembe mu nsi mu okiwulidde oyinza okusikiramu ebintu ebijja okuleetera obuzibu oyinza okubbiramu oyinza okulindiramu oyinza okufereramu kubanga yo gyekoma okujja gy'oli ate mu gwe gy'okoma ojjagala kati yo kyerina nti gwe ng'omuntu gw'otula newekontrola noga nti sente teri zimala kubanga ne betulaba nti oba bandibadde nazo teri avaayo nalangirira naga nti nze ndi wano nawummula ebyokunoonya essente nabivaako era olaba nga sitwagolinga kati kiri kiba mu ggwe ne wekkusa n'ekyo Allah kyakuwa oba omutonzi kyakuwadde noga nti alhamdulillah wimanga Allah kyantambuliza wano okuyingiza 5,000 10 2.3 kanzikakkane ngende n'ekyo nga bwensaba kugamba noteeka lubiriza nnyo bulamu kusikiramu na bitali bibyo ekyo kiba mu ggwe muntu gw'okyeteekamu wekka tewali wayinza kuva eri nakikuteekamu obola bw'osanga omuntu ng'agamba nze ku ssente nzita omuntu ku ssente enkola kyonna okiraba nga alufuze bw'ayogera ku ssente awulira nga mulimu ye abalala ne balina n'ebigambo bagamba nti owangala emyaka simanyi 2 simanyi 10 ng'oli mugagga okusinga okuwangala 8 ng'oli mwavu oba okiraba kwegamba ng'owulira olina okusika ssente oba okiraba ekintu ekyo naye kati ssente gwe wekkusa gwe ng'omuntu
olina bw'osaasira abantu abataenjoyinga ssente zaabwe kubanga waliwo agamba nti ali mu kugezaako kuzikuŋŋaanya
gwe yoserefu noga nti okugamba nti giweze
Mungu nakutwalira n'okuzirya toziridde bulungi.
Kati kyegambye nti kakkana Allah bw'akusanga owulira oyagala okulyamu akakoko ozirina ziwera gula adi gula akakoko kali alhamdulillah
tolina lwowulira guilty hajjajjamira tolina lwowulira guilty kubanga nze nina lwenfuluma bwe nti nengendako mu wooteeri mba ntambulatambula nnyo mba ndi bweru ngenda okuyingira mu wooteeri bwe nti ngenda okulaba kammenyu kakantu kanaali kaagadde naye ngenda okulowooza eka waliyo abantu 5 ngenze kuwoomerwa akantu kano ngamba lesseeyo nenzikwata nenziwunzika neŋŋaa zino zigende zikola awaka eyo guilty tolina wogituukamu nti
ebeerawo tayinza kubulawo tebulawo tayinza kubulawo ebbanga ly'omala nga era ogeza okyagala ate obwetaavu tobuweza era ekukwata n'ogamba era ebyo tebisobola kubula bali naali waggulu ennyo
nze mubiri guno mubiri kasamala okuliisa guno gwe gunaakolerera abasigadde kamala okuguzimba
ate oyo naye gy'ali nga ye tomubuulira basigadde waka oyo naye gy'ali kati ate nno ekyo yes kirungi naye kibi buli wowulira nti no aze yenze nino kwetusaako buli kimu yenze enoonyeza yenze kati n'omuntu ne wanajja nakugamba naye nina ekizibu gundi mpaayo akatwalo jagamba onaagenda okukeberamu nga mulimu ebyo gandi ate nze naali atya sijja kukola ki gamba ekyo kijja kukuleetera okuwuliramu gwe nti buli kwofuna kalina kuba kako kalina oyinza okuyiga obukodo kyetaaga omuntu n'abeeramu kagiriti
kasita kange
kagiriti kano keetaagisa kubanga giriti eno tobeera mu kugamba nti n'omuntu mwavu kyokka ne wobeera mugagga kubanga omuntu gy'okoma okulinnya n'ebyetaago byo bikyuka kati gw'ogamba kajuyisi oba kaki naye ate oli ayinza okulowooza ku mmotoka kika kya bbeeyi nnyo kyawala oba okiraba naye ate nga oluusi yandizikozeemu ki ekintu ekirala oba okuyambamu abala kati kagiriti tekakwatira ku kulya kukka kunywa naye n'okuyamba n'okubeera nti oziteekako mu bintu ebisika abantu okubeera nti bw'onaaba ovuddewo onaayogerwako ebigambo ebirungi mu nsimbi ezo ng'osinziira ku ssente Allah z'akuwadde ssente zikola omulimu munene ssente ezo singa omuntu Allah azimuwa n'azikozesa bulungi ssebo ovaawo n'osigala nga wooli onakunaku bano abadde atugula akasukaali abadde akola bw'ati tujja no ku muzikiti najja n'atuyisaamu abadde atukola bw'ati tusigala tutulaajanira oba okiraba kati kagiriti keetaagisa nomata oba olina zenkanawa keetaagisa
conversation ku bintu by'ensimbi oluusi kibeera nga conversation y'emu mu maka agamu ebeera enzibu emyaka gy'abakitaffe naddala bakitaffe taata yabanga yakola yekka maama asigadde waka ezo conversation wali tozisuubira nako kubanga anajja kumunyumiza atya nga already ye breadwinner yaleeta buli kamu tutuuse mu myaka ng'abakyala bakola ebiseera ebimu ne basinza n'abaami baabwe ensimbi conversations ezikwataganye n'ensimbi ziri zitya awaka
kakati nawo illa marahma rabbi kati awo waliwo ettabu nawo waliwo ko obuzibuzibu naye ekisinga okuba nti kisobola okubeera nti si kibi muntu mwena kuba nti mulinamu ku ssente alhamdulillah kuba kati kyekintu ekiriwo naye ekisinga okuba nti ssente zino tuzifunamu emirembe wadde tuzifunye ffenna era kwe kubeera nti tokuliriza nnyo ssente mu ggwe naddala ku saidi yaffe abakyala ebiseera ebisinga bw'okwatamu ku ssente ng'olaba ziweramu olaba nti buli kimu osobola okyekolera kati ono waaki gamba lwaki mubuulira ebikwatagana ku nsimbi zange lwaki omusajja muyingiza mu ssente zange oba okiraba noba tomuyingizaamu ssente zonna omusajja okumuyingiza mu ssente si kwata ssente kuzimuwa buwi wabula gwe kukifiiringamu gwe nti it is my husband oba okiraba wabeera nti leero sukaali abadde yeetagisa omwami tagize bwati abaana ku ssomero tolinda byakugamba nti alo mwami bino gwe sasula wanaabeera oza omugambe nti anasasudde babadde kale bazitusabye naye ye mulimu ye aba akiwulira nti muyambagana nobeera tomugambye bugambi nti kati tulaawo tubale ssente zange oba okiraba naye bw'olabawo akantu akeetaagisa gwe kakole wanaabeera ze just okimugambe bugambi ali awo motoka ye ekaddiye gw'olinamu ssente ziwera gwe mugulire ye empya oba okiraba banajja mwami nkuyiye mukazi naayo
ako gakatono abasobola okuyita waawo
anti kakati njagadde mirembe oba okiraba omwami ono naye afiiringe nti omukyala wange essente zaalina ffenna zitukola ki ffenna zitugasa kubanga bamubalooza olina kusooka kukwata ssente zonna n'ozimutera ku mmeeza n'ozimubalira yes waliyo gw'oyinza okukikolera nagwe otayinza kikolera kuba buli omu yaba amanyi omuntu we oba okitegeera naye eryokuba nti naye akifiiringa n'atabeerawo kunakuwala kukola ki gwe bayo bwe omukolera essuuti ekaddiye muyiweemu ebintu awo alaba naye n'agamba nti essente ffenna zikola ki ffenna zitugasa tajja nakubeerawo okufaayo nnyo ate tuzibale ate biki kasita kakasa nti ebintu byokola byajjamu essente abimanyi si bintu bibi si ki naye ekisinga okuleeta obuzibu gamba omuntu muli essente azifiiringa nnyo mu ye kigambo kireetera omusajja okutandika
ekyokukuta kivaawa okukuta ogenda ozimbeyo ne burente zeeyo atamanyi ojje weekange bwekanzi oli yatuuka n'okugenda n'okuzimba ennyumba ne bagipangisa ng'ate abeera nabba ne bagipangisa nga bba yasasula ennyumba tamanyi nti asasula nnyumba omukyala yennyini gye yagula kiva ku kyokuba nti omuntu atuuse ku mbeera eringa ey'obuyinike
butekkusa busika bingi kyekyo kyegambye terizimala lwotekusa muggwe oyagala osike kati era wesanga ebyo bikoleddemu nga kati omusajja nalo kwongera okumukamulira ddala oba okira n'osasula ekintu ate era n'osigala n'omugaa nti kino tekyakoleddwa naye nga tewaliwo na bwetaavu ogamba nti lwaki ate okola ki ate osigala omunywa oba okiraba kati
Ajati Sara Semakula, Ajati Jamila omuwulira wanise omukono, please come in. Ajati Jamila togenda.
No, I would rather she finishes her own conversation. I'll speak about my own things. It's not that I really want to comment on anything. That's our own experience. Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
kiva ku butekusa oluusi n'enkolagana ebeera ewaka naye bayetaaga otunulwamu oba kitege enkolagana eno enkolagana yo n'omwami we enkolagana yo ngeri gye mutambuzaamu ebintu oluusi naye eyinza okkireeta naye nga essente buli wootekusa mu ggwe n'okugaba obugabi kiba kizibu gwe muntu muli mu ggwe kukkuta n'oba mukkufu n'ogamba nti Allah ampaddeyo 10 alhamdulillah zien alhamdulillah wana ate alhamdulillah n'otereka wali naye ate era wabeerawo n'ekyetaagisa okukola ate era n'okikola kubanga wali ataafuna
mulandira gwa kookolo n'ogaa tufiire waliwo abakyala bamu n'agaa waakiri tufe naye nga sijja kuzijjayo
okiraba oyo aba tannaba kukkuta kugamba batalina mulimu ye kwekusa wakati mufa mutya enjala musula mutya enjala naye ng'otuulidde ekyetaanuwa oba okiraba naye nga naawe okakasa nti mutuufu omwami sente teyazifuna oba okiraba naye n'ogaa nti asijja kukwatako omusajja ejozo bizinesi ze we naakolayo akantu n'akalaba nti nkakoze ate ajja kukola bw'ati bigamba sente zeetaaga bweru
kikyogiryamu essente ye ekikuwoomera kyogaa nti kino we mba nkikoze mpulira nga zintuuse
siizagamba nti kino nkikoze zintuuse okugjako nga nkoze ijja ne umula ebintu ng'ebyo naye kati
waliwo agambye waliwo atadde mu kyatu n'agaa nti Hajjati abaami obakoneddemu nnyo
nedda sikoneramu nnyo baami okiwudde just ako nakaleese ku kigambo kiri kye wabadde obuuziza nti nnaku zino abakyala nabo bakola tukoze tutya oba okiraba okusobola okukwatagana saayekubidde kubanga olwedde ba abasajja ebyabyo bye balina okukola bimanyiddwa bye balina otulabira bye balina otuliisa naye kati naawe okubeera nti olaga nti tuli bumu tutambulira wamu oba okiraba bw'ojja si omusajja mukwate bw'otyo mukolereyo ekintu okusinziira ku bbeeyi yo okusinziira ku ngeri gy'oyingizaamu mubeere nga mutambulira wamu kino kyetaagisiza tannaba kutuuka gwe muli olina mu kikole oba okitegeera yakimanye ekyo
Thank you very much. That opens us into a conversation. Hajjati Sara nkuleese ne Haji Katerega naye amaze okutuuka. Hajjati Sara, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We are talking about our relationship with money. Are you a slave or are you a master?
In a way, money can enslave you if you really have things that you need to meet and you have to work really hard. Because I can testify that every time I leave my bed or my house to go to work, it's not my happiest moment. But because I've got needs to meet, then I can't be a slave to money, because unless I get the money, then I can't be able to pay my bills. I can't, like previously when I was paying school fees for the children and all their upkeep, I had to work really hard to get all that in place. But if you're talking about one being slave to money, as in money being your entire life, that means that you have to work really all the time. You need to work, and even when you get a certain stage, you try to aspire to get into another stage. I don't think I'm a slave in that kind of way, because I have reached an age where I feel I am satisfied. I'm not really trying to acquire more than what I already have, because getting to that stage takes a lot of maturity and believing in yourself and just letting go. So I don't feel like now I need to do investments here, investments there, because I had a lot of lessons that I've learned looking at people who have really tried and have lost their lives when they're young, and then everything ends up being stolen by relatives and whoever is close to them, or their own children selling it all in one go. So I lost morale in that, and I was like, okay, I'll do what I can, but I don't have to overwork to get to try and grab this, get this, and all the time trying to get to another stage. So I feel comfortable where I am. Yeah. When you talk about when you ask about being stingy, in a way, I would think I'm stingy because I don't just spend my money on everyone anyhow. Yes, I give lots in charity, but I've also come to learn that people back home are not as bad as they really pretend to be. So they make you work your backside off, and then they keep on complaining about problems, and you send and send and send. But when you go home and you see what is happening, you realize that some of them are really too lazy, just waiting for a number to come in. Yeah,
Yes,
they're not even ready
you're
to do
working so
any
hard, and all they are waiting for is for you to send your 10
money.
pounds, 20
Yeah,
pounds, and they'll go out and have fun.
and they're the same people who talk really ill about the kind of life we live here and the kind of jobs they minimize us, they look down upon us. So I have put a kind of a stop. I know when I can send money home, and I know when I can't send money home, and I know who I can give and who I can't give. Because there was a time when I had a relative who was really close, and I used to make sure that instead of my zakah, I was like, yes, this person must be needy. Right from talking to them over the phone, so I would send money on a monthly basis, or my zakah, I would just cut it and send to her because I wouldn't want to send to the sheikh to distribute to other people when I also have people close to me who are needy. But when I went back home, I found this lady. I'm not saying it's bad what she did, but for me, I was like, oh, why was I sending money that I should have sent to the mosque? Because I found her living in a storied house. She had built a house and she was living a totally different life. And I had to come back and I plead with my Allah, saying, I'm sorry, Allah, if I cheated you, but it's because I didn't know and I had to send that money to that person because I thought they were really needy. So I have a different perspective about sending money back home. And when I first came here, I was like a slave to them all. Yeah, putting all sometimes my problems aside and trying to make my children live a harder life. Because for me, everyone who was like a sister, brother, were like my responsibility to look after. And I had some other people who had come here before me who used to talk me out of it. And I was like, oh, when people come here, they really change. They become heartless. That was my way of looking at it. But then I realized after going back after so many years, and I'm like, okay, so I've been the slave working for these guys when they didn't even need my money, and they just making me a fool and extorting money from me. So that's one thing I changed, and I no longer send money anyhow. Do I buy things for me? Yeah, I do. I love beautiful stuff. I love to drive a beautiful car. I love to yeah, I do. I do.
Yes.
And I used to put myself on a budget. But one day my daughter called me and I said to me, Mommy, watch work of Enjaulo. It's your life. And that really sunk in. And I didn't make a meaning of it until when I went home and the very children I was looking after, they were all driving and I was still on a bus. Yeah. Trying to even sometimes walk where I had to, or I would take a bus. And I was like, oh, in a pound, I can't spend it. It would be more useful back home. So I left that life a long time ago. I'm living my life because I don't know when I'll be hitting my grave. And there's no point me being here struggling all the time and not looking after me. And in a way, if you continue struggling like that, you might end up even, well, I know Allah to government, we only go when we have to go. But sometimes it does come to me that maybe I might push myself into some illnesses that you will put me down on my, and become bedridden before my time. I don't know whether that's true, but it does cross my
Yes.
mind.
No,
Yeah.
that very Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولا تلقوا بأيديكم إلى التهلكة. Do not send yourselves into self-destruction because God has already written a day that you shall die, and therefore, if it is to die, then you'll die. God says, no, do not tempt God, in other words. So you
Yeah.
do the best that you can in your circumstances. Try to live the best that you can. I've seen people who have denied themselves a lot. There used to be a very rich man in Rwanda called Rubangura. This man denied himself a lot in an effort to try to create wealth, and then he would benefit it. By the time he got the wealth, he had been put off sugar, he had been put off salt. Kati emmere taliimu munnyo, kachaya kataliimu sukali. The essence of it really loses the whole, the whole benefit. And you find a poor person comfortably enjoying these benefits. So whenever you can, I think it makes sense to be able to do that within measure, because sometimes there are people who are spendthrifts, and if they are going to spend on themselves in a way that actually fleeces them, bankrupts them, and then they have to start all over. There are people that I know that will spend to the very last coin. Nagwera muddala okusigala ng'atabanga. Tali Uganda, ali Bulaya, where they are exposed to a situation of money. Nagwera muddala bino oga nti bino byowunziko omuntu nga nfuufu yeeyiika. And this person, is there living paycheck to paycheck. So by the time the next paycheck comes, actually on the day the paycheck has come in, bills ezisooka zivaavaako mangu, overdraft n'egiryawo, ogenda okakana ng'omuntu asitatuuse, ogenda okutuuka ku tightness ya next paycheck ng'ali ku la ilaha illallah Muhammad rasulullah saawa yonna ng'akalimi kagwayo. It's sort of a feeling with people who would push themselves to that extent in terms of that. But Hajat Sir, I have no doubt about your love for good cars. By the way, at which point now I never found out what happened to your car. Was it found or was it?
No, it was never found, but the insurance paid me so well, and I had to buy another one.
Oh, you
thing I
haven't bought
couldn't.
another one. I thought
I bought another one within 2 months.
Bought
and
another
I'm
one.
back on the road.
I'm
One
coming.
thing
I'm
you
coming
can't
for the
do.
ride, please.
You can't. It's really difficult now buying Range Rovers anymore because the insurance is up in the roof, and some insurers do not insure anymore. The Lexus and the Range Rovers and cars one shouldn't be buying. Yes, in the market they are now low. The price is low because you can't get an insurer. It's really hard, or sometimes it's completely impossible.
Wow.
Yeah, but other than that, I am a happy woman. I'm trying to live my life. I've swore to myself that unless I have a lot of cash to spare, I'm not starting any projects. I don't need any stress anymore. And yeah, people talk about projects here and there, and I'm like, okay, go for it if you want stress for yourself.
Yes.
But the only thing I'm thinking about is just doing my holidays and just enjoying every penny that I save, just going all over the place.
Have you taken on any new hobbies? I told you about my horse riding now. I'm all obsessed now with horse riding as a new way of eating my money.
I haven't thought. I have newcomers here that I need to settle them in first and make sure everyone has got a job. That's the only hustle I have at the moment. But once they're done, and the thing is, you make plans, but if you're on your own, it can be really very difficult to implement them because certain activities you need a partner. And I'm too old for that. Maybe I'll find Abiba and we'll just go around on holidays together. Because she's one way.
Abiba is already supporting you.
So they'll try to hook up with her when things are better. And we'll do more holidaying together.
Please, don't shut that door. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has his plans. While you might think it's too old. Barakallah. Thank you very much, Hajat Sarah, for your contribution. I'll bring in Haji Katerega and Haji Samakubi. I can see your hand is up. I'll go to Haji Katerega, who was up before you did, and he's on. Haji Katerega, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Eating your money. Are you a slave or a master of your money?
Kakati ekisooka munansonyiwa kuba emboozi gikwatiddemu kati wakati.
Yes.
Naye waliwo okulya ssente kwa mirundi ebiri. Waliwo omuntu eyazaalibwa ne ssente nga mu maka ssente zibaddemu. Akuze amanyi kologeti kyeki, alina sabbuuni anaaba n'ayoza, n'essuuka asula mu ssuuka, ayambala ndaweya akyusa n'engatto. Kati omuntu oyo n'akula nga bamutegekedde n'akola ssente era agenda mu layini emu nga gye yalabye awaka. Ayongerako upgrade kubanga alihandika okutambula abadde mu economy n'ayingira business class. Naye waliyo okubeera nga tewalina ku ssente wadde wazalibwa mu famire nga njavu sami akawogo keeko katogo keeko mulina mukera ku lubimbi ne babali sibira 2 bazitanga 2 ge basemeranga edda layini 2 ez'emmwanyi layini 6 waggulu.
Nice one. Yes.
Baziyita 2 muzeeyi wange aziyitanga 2 buli muntu oluyimbi lwe 2 kati nojja nova mu life eyo nga oli ku subhanallah babakwasize swala mulina okutegeera nti riziki eva wa Allah ne musaba paka ne muyita ne mufuuka kyemufuuka ekipya alhamdulillah. Kati bw'ofuna ssente abantu afunye ssente mu mbeera eyo si kyangu okuzisaasaanya kubanga ssente aba agijje wala abwavu aba butya. Njala ngutegeeze nti omuntu abadde omwavu okufuna ku ssente ndadamu nayavuwala abeera mubi nnyo okusinga oli abadde omugagga nga yajja ku ssente nayavuwala ono abeera mubi nnyo nnyo. Kale
ogambye dadamu awo Haji Katerega omuntu afunye ku ssente,
omuntu abadde omwavu n'afuna ssente addamu nayavuwala abeera atya nnyo okuddayo okwavuwala okusinga ono omuntu yakulya mu ssente ne bwayavuwala tatya nnyo tagwamu nnyo taba depressed. Naye nyankutegeeze nti ono yabaliko omwavu n'afuna ssente ate naddayo n'abeera omwavu ayitibwa bubi nnyo abamu bagaana kwetuga. Kale kakati enjoga gyemubaddemu embeera gyemubaddemu embuzi gyemubaddemu olina okugigenderera ennyo kubanga tutunuulira nga wano ewaffe bwe tuli e Bungereza waliwo kituyita nti zikusooka nezitakuva mabega. Abantu abasinga obungi abajja wano mu Bungereza bajja baali bafunye ku ssente, baali mu ddiiru z'e Kampala, baali mu busuubuzi, baali mu bintu bya kwekolya ssente nga ssente zijja omuntu tamanya akeera ku makya n'ateekawo ebintu n'atunda doole zibadde 2,000 ne zifuuka omutwalo naye Kampala wantu ofuna emitwalo 10 ne bukeera enkya nga ebiwabadde osuubula byonna babikutte bakoze betya n'ogwa n'oddeyo ku zero n'ogenda ku kyenyi. Kaakati abantu abalimu bali wano mu nsi eno bagira mu mbeera eyo nga baali bamanyi okwekolera kane badda mu kukozesebwa. Kati omuntu okudda mu kukozesebwa n'otali okufuna ssente za buli mwezi ng'ofuna musaala mulimu abantu ba mirundi 3 abala nanyumba tagipangisa afuna lumu mwasheyalinga n'abantu abalanga 6 n'abanga akasente akanyiga ku kisambi alubira okuddayo e Kampala addewo nga bwe yali ne bigaana ajja amanyi nti nja kumala n'emyaka 2 nja kuba ekyeyo kyange emyaka 2 nkwate ssente mbagaye mpaka 1500 buli mwezi awo sijja kukwata kwadde ennusu.
Naye Haji Katerega kati omaze okutuuka e Bulaaya olina z'okozeekozeewo era osigala okyatya okuzigenda osobola okuddayo.
Kati yenjawulo eriwo kati omuntu wamala okufuna n'atuuka e Bulaaya n'atandika okukola afuna security of tenure egamba amanya nti kati obulamu buteredde. Aba n'enjawulo wadde omugagga ali Uganda alina milioni 10 ng'omuntu ali wano afuna minimum wage ono awawano aba amusinga okubayo ne security nti owawano aba amanyi nti nja kukola ne mu bukadde bwange nja kufuna nga pension. Naye oli ali eri 10 kiyinza okuba nakyo n'atuuka mu 3 ne bukeera enkya amugamba nti ebintu byonna babikutte tewali kyali kyolina naddeyo mu bwavu.
Naye Haji Katerega ogenda okulaba ng'omuntu ali e Kampala for someone who is across there ng'obulamu bwawangaaliramu despite ebiyinza okugwawo byonna ng'akyakusinza abantu abali e Uganda Ghana kkiriza batusinza quality of life.
Anti y'omuntu ali
security but quality of life bagitusinga.
Batusingako quality of life eri ensonga eri emu nti ye teyeraliikirira kabeera ku pressure ya security nga wano. Ye akola nga bw'aba ayagadde akolera ku ddiiru. Ebintu bya Uganda ebisinga byonna bya ddiiru. Kola ddiiru aleese bibiriiti naye amugamba nti badde ku myeka nti mitwalo 2 agasooka osiremu container ne birinnya bigera ku 4. Ebintu byalaga asuubira okujja mu milioni 2 n'abijjamu milioni 4 n'akola milioni 2 all over sudden. Ekyo kyekiri e Uganda kwega nti omuntu n'aba nti ate ekyokubiri talina pressure ali mu nnyumba ye ali mu maka ge emmere akagula ngulenga wano talina shift waako oyo kugoloka ku alaamu okitegedde. Kati ekintu kyo taliko pressure naye ana ekintu ekisinga obuzibu kye tulina omuntu bw'ojja e Bulaaya obanga agenze e Makka abantu balowooza nti bw'ogera e Makka ofunayo obugagga era bwodda bonna bayiikewo nga buli omu ayagala twamuleetedde okuva e Makka. Kakati ne wano bw'ojja wano buli mwezi bamanya nti leero kati aja azifunye nti essimu ne zitandika messages ne zitandika buli muntu n'aba nti asaba ssente mu kika kyonna. Kaakati nawe bange olina obuzibu obwo okugyawo nga weevuddemu ne weekuniza kweganze kyendabye ku ssente kiri nti abo bona bagenda okuzifuna sooka ogumiikiriza ssente zo okwata empola nga bw'otya Allah. Anyway, obusiraamu butugamba nti nobeerawo ng'ajja kufa enkya ate erya ng'agenda kufa enkya, naye gwe twala kino ekisooka nti ojja kubeerawo n'okufa enkya ogumiikirize kulwalirira. Bw'omala okufuna ssente n'oweza then olyoka otandika okunoonya okuvuga embalaasi naye tosobola sikulaba Kayira abitambala emotoka yagikwata ku remote neevuga nejjawo neiva mu parking n'olugamba nange kanyingire Ford gye naakuba akade ye parking eveeyo ejje ngobeere wendi ojja kukutuka amagulu ga bwereere. Kwata mpola.
Katerega wali ofudde Mungu n'akomyawo wakyusaamu ku ndya y'essente oluvannyuma lw'okudda okuva mu ekyo Allah kye yali akutuzisizaamu
era nze okufa abantu tebakwagala naye ebimu ku bintu byeneebaza kwe kulwala kunalwala Allah n'andwaza n'amponya. Ekintu ekyo nikyebaliza Katonda lwa nsonga nga sinaba kubola nga sobola kwegulira nasobola kwegulira saati
ng'olwo kiki ennyo
nga buli kasente ekikulu nti nina abaana bangi alhamdulillah nkyebaza Allah naye nga buli kasente kenfuna kagenda ku baana. Omwana n'agamba ki Katonda kugamba nti nga sinala kino erowoolezaako nze naye bwe nalwala nentunula mu kabuli nentuuka n'okugandika nti ebibuzo ntaga okubikwata nga bw'ogandika okulaminga ebibuzo ng'ogenda mu exam bye banaakubuuza obiddemu. Allah nanzize wallahi ntya Katonda nga saakobalimba abantu bonna bawuliriza alinawo akasente kange alinawo nti ali saving naye konna nakeeteekamu
nkuwulira sebu
era obulamu bwange ne butuukira wensula wendya wentambulira buli kyenkola ekitegedde nemba nti kwegamba obulamu bwange bwakyuka kinene nnyo Katonda okundaga ekyajjawo kyali kyamaanyi kinene nnyo gyeri naye nga okujjawo ng'ofunye chansi ng'eyo n'otegeera ku buzibu obufaanana ng'o tosobola abamu tosobola kukola ki kuva mu mbeera ezimu otambula mu mbeera y'abaana abaana bakuteeraku puresha baganda abo bakuteeraku puresha naye illa okutuusa ng'otegedde nti ebyokufa n'okuleka buli kyobadde okoze n'olyoka otandika okwefaako. Kale nti kyeŋŋamba abantu bw'oba Allah akuwangaliza n'otuba ku myaka gino ejja weeteekemu ssente lekera okwekuba enjawulo naye oba okyali muvubuka gumiikiriza illa Katonda ayinza okukuwangaza n'atuseero gye tuli ate awo ojja kubeera better off kusinga nakati mwe tuli.
Twogere ku conversation at home ekigambo ky'ensimbi ngende wa Haji Makumbi ekigambo ky'ensimbi conversations awaka is it easy to have conversations around money mutuula ne mugibiba nga kyanguko oba naddala akasente ako wali otuse kati wali ogenze walayika wali okakwese mulandira gwa koko we kati
kyangu n'akatono kubanga abantu baffe abasinga obungi nga ffe abalina experience kali gye tuyiseemu abantu baffe abasinga obungi mubeera mu family naye nga mulinga bali ku competition mwazaalibwa taata omu maama omu naye buli omu ayagala kusinga munne buli omu ayagala kusingawo munne. Ate ekyokubiri abasajja abakyala singa Katonda lyatuula n'atuuliza be bandibadde abatuufu b'okufuna ssente ne tuzifuna nga kuva kubo nga bo bazifuna okuva kubo kyandibadde kirungi nnyo mu Sheikh Kayira singa omukisa gwa ssente gwali guweereddwa bakyala naye nga ffe oluvannyuma ne tuba nga be balabirira ffe mu kifo kyoffe okulabirira bo wallahi tetwandibadde mu bulamu naffe obweyagalako naye abakyala baffe abo bulaba bayitibwa bubi nnyo abasajja tubayisa bubi nnyo nga bufunye ssente omukyala bw'oba olina omukyala nga tolina mukyala akuwa support ne bw'oba mugezi otya tosobola kukola ssente. Okukola ssente zonna n'otereera n'ogaggawala emabega eteeka okubayo omukyala akuwagira nga mulungi nga ate akusapootinga. Abantu
ng'akusaasira n'okusaasira support eyinza okuba nk'okusaasira obusaasizi kubanga nga yasazeewo okwonoonera embeera akulemesa ebisigadde.
Anti omukazi abalala bagamba nti Eva yasobola okwogera ne Ibirisi. Kati bye baayogera ne Ibirisi tomwepankako kubanga ye oba yasobola okwogera ne Ibirisi n'amuyitako. Ye bwe yajja ewa Adamu yagwa bugu. Kale omukyala ye aba muzibu nnyo ayagala kukwata buli ddakiika nga weegendereza. Tokwata omukyala gy'ava n'akuma. So omukwata ng'ekyatika gw'ofunamu gw'omusajja. Naye ate nga tokutte mukyala bulungi tosobola kugaggawala. Tebali kulima nti omusajja w'osala ng'ali singo nga muwulu nga mugagga alina akasente ke bakulimba kirala. Naye ate abakyala bo asobola okuba ng'ali singo nga talina musajja n'aba ne ssente.
Abasajja nga bangi nnyo nga akyusa bakyusa aleeta bakyazi bokka nga
aba n'essanyu taba na ssanyu era olaba abeera muwono ng'abakyusa bukyusa. Taba na ssanyu olowooza okukyusa abakazi kuliko essanyu obeera mu kubunaabuna. Enkya n'oleeta ow'entumbu ezasiriira era n'oleeta ezamyuka luli n'okulotya obeera mu kubunaabuna kwennyini.
Haji Katerega nabuuziza ekibuuzo kye nabadde njagala okuvaako ngende wa Haji Makumbi. Conversation ekwataganye n'ensimbi awaka ewuwo bulungi.
Omukyala buli dakiika alowooza ye kukola bibye kubanga omusajja alowooza nti bw'ofuna ssente ogenda kuwasa mukazi bwakusasa. Kati nnyina amugambirawo nti mwana wange tusirwala ez'akameza kendeeza tekkerezaako kapooti n'akafunye wano. N'azimba ploti n'agula ploti ewaabwe agenda okugitunda agikomyewo ng'amaze kuzala abaana 6 n'alekwa akakasa nti wano nja kufumbawo. Naye nga tanaba kufuna abaana 6 nakakasa kulaba ku byapa bya ttaka nga kuliko amannya ge tasobola kubeera nga muteesa kulya ssente. Twali buddakiika abakoza twagenda genda inshallah.
Haji Katerega tweyanziza nnyo ssebo barakallahu fikum. If you've just joined us, a very interesting conversation. It gets even better as we start going deeper into the conversation. 38 minutes, that's 22 minutes to 10 o'clock. Beautiful conversation on money. Haji Issa Makumbi, I come to you. Wanange about money. Our relationship with money. And Haji Katerega wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Haji Katerega was saying if we had a conversation on money in his house, that's not a conversation that is one to have. Let's pick up from there maybe, Haji Issa.
Nze nalina muzeeyi wange era ye nga bw'oba okola ekintu asooka n'akolayo first time n'agamba nti oguddako gojja okwesasulira ng'agamba nti olina okuyiga okukola ssente era ye n'akituusamu nti bizinesi yange mwembeera naawe sawa yiyo ng'eri awo bw'onookola ssente sijja kuzikujjako. Nja kuwa example na petrol station e Makerere Wandegeya tugamba emipiira gyonna okugikola gyonna gyammwe sikujjako ne ssente ne 10 naye ssente zonna z'okola zizo.
Okola emipiira ebiraka?
Ekkuba ebiraka.
Yes.
Ezo ssente zizo. Era ye nga yekyalina ekintu ekyo nali nga nkyali muto nga n'emyaka ndowooza nga 12 n'aŋŋamba nti limenyaanya nga nimenyaanya ewaffe naye nga muwaka ezawaka esigadde zonna agulangule era nga mpa ssente zange nga tewali ki bizibu byonna nanga nti okukola ekintu kyonna olina okuyiga kukola ssente. Era neefuna problem ne muzeeyi wange maama wange ye nga ayagala mbe nga ye muntu abeera waka naye nze nga muntu agenda mu disco agenda mu firimu agenda ku mupiira byonna nga byonna mbeera gye ndi olw'okuba muzeeyi yanyigiza okukola ssente naye nga mbuuza nti ssente ozijjawa nga nze zikola. Magendo bwe gajja mu biseera bya Idi Amini natandika okuwasa nga nina emyaka 17 nga waliwo ddiiri ya Pepsi Cola soda litalabika ebiseera ebyo naye nga sebirumbi Katonda mwijja nnene nga ngenda ne buli Saturday nfuna kaadi ngenda kuwasa oba mukana wange agenda kuwasa nga ngenda kujjayo soda nga bakuwa kiti nagitundanga ku mulyango awo oli n'agenda ajjayo soda ze nenkupako enjawulo yange n'entambula. Era bwe nagenda e Russia nze saakolako nkujja gamba nti nkola kigundu kyonna kyonna. Natandika kukola ntunda bintu ebitakkizibwa mu Russia. Ntunze jeans, ntunze obutambala bw'oku mutwe, ntunze anything. Ntunze diplomatic monies nga nzijja mu diplomat nezitunze Uganda. Nentandika okukola bureau exchange money nga ngula dola ku Bawarabu neziguza Uganda Africa bonna nze nga nkubako njawulo zange. Nga bwe nagendanga e Germany oba ngenze London nga nkyakala. Life bwekyo bwe yalinga naye era bwe nali nga ndi mu secondary school Ekibuli waliwo gy'ogula film waliwo omusajja yalinga ajeera ng'amwezi ne numba headmaster nemugamba nti omusajja omuwa ssente mmeka nti bweziti nemugamba nti nja kukola ku ssente bweziti nga kati ng'omusajja okumuwa nga yali asasula omwezi ozali lyamuwa siringi nga 12 zine nga nja kukolera 11 omuzungu n'amuggyako n'ampa contract ey'okukola gy'ogula film naye saagirako n'omuno ogumu. Abaagalanga okusoma bye baajeeranga naye nze nga omwezi gwakolanga ki nga nzijja bujjuki ssente zange. Era bonna we mbadde sijja okukola kikyonna ssente nga bwe nzikola nga nkyakala. Bwe nagenda nkukolidde oba nga ngenze mu America nga nnyinza okuvuga okuva Florida nengenda Miami Fede nenkomawo nga
ng'olya ozirya otya oli ku biiki wanika ku kugulu kwo
ku biiki nga ntambula nenspeninga bwe najjanga mu London nga na ssente zange nga nzimanyi okuzikola bwe mala okuzikola singa wala abazikola ne batenjoyinga. Era life yange yonna awali business wembeera kubanga muzeeyi yatukiyiza nti osooka okukola ssente olyoka okola ki olyoka kyakala. Era muzeeyi wange teyangulako olugendo olumu wadde mamange bwe yajja nange bwe nakula nga ntandise okukola business ye nga mukola ne business ze. Bwe nali mu A-level nga ndi kololo nga nze mukola disco ku gate kwembeera nze sibeera mu gye bazirina tebinkwatako ku gate abayingira benkola ki bwenzijjako ssente naye nga life yalinga bwetyo nze nga mmanyi kukola ssente nonkyakala naye ate nga siyagala muntu kujja gamba nti muganda wange ampe ku ssente awadde maama ampe ssente. Nze nja kugamba in my life ndowooza maama yangulira essaati emu yokka yokka in my life byonna byonna nga nze mbyegulira naye ng'elife yange naye nga kyenjirawo kyonna kyonna manya kuzikola nenkyakala soolyamu okukola ssente nabeerawo nga yeerumya nze manya kuzikola nenkyakala ng'okuzikola yange egenda mu business.
Has that changed how bw'olya ssente zo oba gwe engeri gy'oziridde mu bulamu moving along? You have no regrets?
I have no regret. Era bonna baffe bamanyi nti omuveeko tajja kusaba ssente tajja kukola kyonna kyonna naye amanyi bwakola ssente zebagala nga beewuunya nti ye omuveeko bwatuuka waka nga nkyali mu secondary school baganda baana abato bonna nga mbawa ssente era nga bamanyi nti wenzijja bajja kufuna ssente manyi okuzikola wabeera ku business zentunulira zokka zokka singa saagala muntu kunkozesa. Era muzeeyi yatugamba nga nti okukozesa ojja kuba mwavu weekozese ofune ki ssente. Era buli wembeera mbadde nina akantu kenkola kayita some extra money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Magezi ki g'oyinza okuwa omuntu ku relationship erina okubeerawo wakati we ne ssente?
Ekiri ku bantu bo bagala okutandika okukola lyalowooza nti bw'anaatandika okukola ssente ayagala kukola £100. No, sooka okole £2 otandikira. Bw'okola ssente entono ogenda building up ideas n'ofuna ideas kino ogenda ngaokola kimu improvinga. Naye abantu abasinga bamugamba nti nkoze eki kifunyeeko ba 50p takirowooza nti mulimu ki osobola okukola business yo. Naye bw'onookola 50p next time ojja kukola £1 gy'onaddako ojja kukola £2. That's how they make business. Naye abantu abalowooza nti atandika with big money. No, small. Era nze omuntu agamba bwe ntunda abantu batunda nga enakaseera eyo omuntu atunda ebintu okozesa omuntu wa bulijjo. That's where money is. Naye ala tebakola ki tebatunda kintu ekyo olyagala naga nti bw'anaagenda mu dduuka atundayo amasaati akole kyejja kubeera ssente. Eyo teriyo ssente. Ssente ziri mu bantu abasinga obungi abakola ebintu ebintu by'essente entono ebikozesa omuntu wa bulijjo byeri ssente. Leero kyempa abantu amagezi, genda ebintu ebikozesebwa abantu abangi eby'essente entono ojja okujja ssente. N'ojja nti ojja genda ogula ebintu ebiri very expensive tojja kufuna ssente. Abaguzi babeera batono. Ebadde idea yange.
Message taken, so barakallahu fikum. And Bwana Isma there in the studio, please, if you can, take a clip kafa kagenda okuddawo katuyamba okuyingira mu second level eya conversation. Haji Isa Makumbi, as usual, fantastic presentation on that matter. 14 minutes to 10 o'clock. The program is Come, Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. This is your global community conversation. And if you miss any of our programs, remember you can just go online, go onto YouTube, just search for Come, Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, or search for Ummah Connected, UMMAH Connected, and just look underneath. You will be able to see Come, Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, or go to facebook.com/75W Radio. There you'll be able to see exactly, well, what you have missed of our programs every Tuesdays from 8 p.m. What I see myself, Clip Kano is mainly on the kind of the traumas that we carry when it comes to money. Some of the traumas are traumas from our past.
From a child's perspective, everybody's bigger, the world is scary, they're not sure how to navigate.
The brain is taking in information, is making narratives from an early age.
They are looking to the people around them to show them how to interact with money.
But children don't directly interact with money, so parents don't need to worry until much later in their lives, right?
At the age of 3, this is when we first start putting together the equation of money and value.
What are the parts of my money story that I think are valuable to pass on to my kids? What were the messages that were sent by your mother, your father, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, significant caregivers? And how do you think it affects your financial communication today?
The biggest thing that parents can do to help their children make better financial decisions in the future is talking to them about their personal financial decisions now in the present.
How can we make sure our children learn healthy attitudes around money? And how can we confront and correct the deficits in our own upbringing? This is Your Brain on Money. So, Dr. Cable, when we're growing up, how does our brain take in money behaviors?
We're born at a stage where the brain isn't fully developed yet. And a lot of the final development of the brain happens outside in the world, compared to other species.
And so the brain is taking in the information and is putting it into categories, is making associations, is making narratives from an early age.
And we start to develop these thoughts that are called money scripts. And so just like an actor is given a script and told in a scene how to act, when certain things happen around money, our brain gives us a certain thought, and then we know the script and how we're going to act.
Our early experiences in our family system and directly around money have a profound impact on our beliefs around money, and our beliefs around money predict our financial outcomes. If you grew up poor, money is something that's scary, not having money is scary. The problem is that as you grow older, maybe you do have money, but you still have that fear. You still have that anxiety because you can't shake that belief. There'll never be enough money.
On the other side, folks who might be really affluent and privileged, they might think money can solve every problem, but not build up mental toughness and withstand things that sometimes money can't solve.
And so children are being constantly exposed to the attitudes, the mindsets, and the behaviors of their parents and other loved ones around them and their relationship around money.
If all of this is happening at an early age, what are the real-world effects later in adulthood? Kathleen and Brad were kind enough to share their own stories growing up.
My mother gave me some money to go buy milk. It was the good old days when you could go buy milk when you were a kid unsupervised. And so I ran off with my friend. We got the milk, and I can remember there was a nickel change. And when I got home, I gave my mother the milk, but I did not give her the nickel. And of course I got in trouble. What I walked away with was my love of money is shameful. That there's something wrong with my desire to hang on to this nickel that is not okay. And so as an adult, what is interesting is I've always been good at managing the money, making money, But my love of money, my desire as an entrepreneur to be profitable, actually, I had to work through some of that shame and that discomfort. I think because I was sent the message that it's not okay, Kathleen, that you love money so much that you want to keep it.
So I think I associated not having money with pain and anxiety and family strife. My mom likes to say we were middle class except lower. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, they got words for that. In my understanding my own financial psychology, I went home and I interviewed my mother. I didn't understand why she was so afraid to invest. And then she told me this story about my grandfather, which all of a sudden made my crazy relationship with money make perfect sense. My grandfather went to the bank one day and his money was gone. It was the Great Depression. The banks closed. He never put $1 in the bank the rest of his life. He died in his 90s, keeping his money in a lockbox. So understanding that family pattern, it really gave me compassion for my grandfather and my mother, because of course my mom's anxious about money. She's too anxious to invest. She was raised by a guy who wouldn't even put money in the bank. So we have these conclusions we walk away with around money. Rich people are greedy, or money corrupts, or you can never have enough money, or there's virtue in having less money. These are all beliefs that we've studied that get inherited and emerge from our experiences around money.
So what can we do to help our children learn better money habits and perhaps even reconcile what was passed down to us?
The first is the earlier you start, the better off. So start early and talk about money often.
Let your child digest what it is that you're talking about money. Be sure that you don't push all the details of your financial experience on them.
And so the collection of all these money messages that we receive as we are growing up is called your money story. Pick those lessons that you want to pass down to the next generation, like passing on a legacy.
In modern society, it's gotten tougher. It's become digits on a screen. And the more abstract it gets, the more vulnerable we are to making mistakes around it. So make it visual, make it concrete.
So for a 5-year-old, it might be, this is a quarter, this is a dime, this is $1. And then, showing them how to make change. And as someone progresses, then you start to increase those lessons in terms of, somebody gets their first job. How do you negotiate a salary? How do you read a paycheck? So it's these educational moments that happen over time.
You might be able to say, like, sometimes, this is just a really tough time and we're going to talk about it. Maybe we're going to journal about it. Maybe we're going to take a walk. We're going to do other things to help us feel better. And that gives your child or children multiple resources of how they can deal with themselves, their emotions, and their money.
If you think that you are very financially well off and so your children are fine, they don't need to hear or you don't need to talk about money, take a step back and think about your parents and your parents' parents and your parents' parents' parents, so that you can be clear that you're only benefiting your child by having these money conversations and experiences with them.
And the more you do it, the more you'll see these opportunities arise. And I think those natural financial conversations and those teachable moments are great ways to be able to express your family values, to teach your kids about money, and to do so in a way that is a little bit more palatable.
Yes, well, you just had it there. I think it's quite a comfortable element there, talking about some aspects of money and the traumas that we carry sometimes from our very past, how our past comes to influence. Aisha Masimbi, I'll be coming to you shortly after speaking to Essie. Essie, I hope you can unmute yourself now. Essie, are you there? Hello, Essie. You are unmuted just as we went into the video, but your sound was bleeding in. Hello, Essie. Essie, are you there? I can go to Aisha Masimbi as we bring in Essie. Hello, Aisha Masimbi. Oh, Essie's here. Oh, Essie, hold the line. I've got Aisha Masimbi here. Aisha, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Tuli kunsimbi. Kulia sente zozi vyote. Naam.
Wabula, naize okulya sente, Sheikh.
Waize?
Naize.
Okay.
Mbadde nzirya naye nga sirya nnyo. Ng'olya n'ogabako.
Kapya ki ke wataddemu ke wayongeddemu?
I think after some time, you always think to yourself, I have, I have somehow we know that death is imminent anytime you go. But I've had one experience from one conversation from one of your, I think it was Haji. Yes.
Yes.
So Haji has talked of a very important point that not until you are on your bed or something hits you that you realize that, oh God, and life is, it's inevitable. I have to die. So we always plan, okay, future. We don't know what the future holds. And you think, okay, you want to be comfortable. Probably I've seen my dad plan for his future, and alhamdulillah, my dad has planned his future, and he's in his 80s and he's still enjoying a comfortable life. I don't know whether I'll get to that 80. So recently I've been unwell, and you work tirelessly, job stress you up, and you think, okay, at some point, you want to retire. I was always thinking I want to retire at 50. Who knows I'll get to 50. So not until I experienced an illness that actually woke me up, I said, no, I have to hold back, because I even don't know whether I'm going to reach 50, when I'm still alive. So until you get, I'm walking, sorry, I'm just running out of breath.
No, it's perfectly fine. We can hear you well. Yes.
Until you get to that point where I realize now I have to kind of think more and eat your money more.
Are you better now? You're talking about that health scare that you got.
Yes, I'm better now, and I'm putting myself together. So I'm much better, Although I was balancing.
How are you eating? How are you eating your money then?
I'm eating my money by traveling more, enjoy things, use your money to enjoy. I've always loved good things anyway, good clothes. I've spent much of my money on good clothes. I've always kind of, want a holiday, but I want more. And one of the things that I've vowed myself, I want to make hijrah. Once for me that is done, I feel I would have accomplished, some of the things. But again, Hajat, I think Hajat Sarah.
That's sad. Yes.
Yeah, money you spent, you send home. Sometimes we assume that we have that responsibility to our people back home, and sometimes you give before even they ask. Not until you realize that no, I can only just help so much, but I was one person who would help, go beyond. It doesn't stop. Then when you become unwell, I remember I traveled, I was home, I went for rest. Nobody will ever look into you. Even the people you've been supporting, nobody looks back. You kind of there, you want somebody at least to feed you. It's only your family here. It's only your husband, your children who will look after you. So kind of it kicks back. You spent the holiday there, you took time off, you are there 2 months, you're back home, but it's the money that still comes from your relatives here. So I kind of say I've stopped. You now look after yourself. Until it hits you that hard, then well, for me, it has hit me that hard whereby I feel, okay, now this is my life and this is my family. You have to balance life. I don't know what comes tomorrow. So I've started enjoying my life, more. Think of holiday, yes, I will go more. Think of anything that you love, get it, because we don't know where life, sometimes you're on a roller coaster and you don't know that life is actually short until something happens. Yeah, so I will continue to enjoy my life. I will continue to travel wherever I get a chance.
I declared as well, Aisha. I declared this year, I said I have lived for the past 50 years for everybody else. I think this year
Yeah.
with Allah's will, I start living for me. And
exactly.
I feel like I'm at that point where now I have to, I don't want to wait for a situation that will give me a scare. I
And
would
you're
rather
right.
start when I'm still able to. And this year is really, really my year. I feel it inside me. It's 1 year now that I've promised myself I shouldn't feel guilty in case I have to spend on myself.
Exactly. And you're right. Absolutely, you're right. I wish we see it early enough. If we see it early enough, maybe in our 30s, maybe we would have doubled our years to live. But we don't know. We can't predict these things. Yeah, but very interesting topic, Sheikh. Thank you so much. Sometimes we don't
Very
talk
much.
about
Thank
hard
you.
topics.
Eat your money. I think it almost now goes without saying that many of the people are sort of coming out of a situation of scare, other than Isa Makumbi, who has been eating his money continuously. Others had to get, and Hajat Sarah as well, who have had, others have had to get a sort of a scary situation that brings them into sense, wakes them up very quickly to start enjoying that bit of your life. Essie, I've tried to get you to unmute yourself. I don't seem to be having much luck. Mariam, I come to you, and then Ida, and I'll cross as well to Hajat Rema Mabuya, who has been quietly there in the Kamori, quiet. Essie, are you there now? Essie, one more chance. Okay, let me try.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamu warahmatullahi katonkuru mtima. Wenda nyiga kupesa kati wenyenya. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Ndimukuwuliriza sina.
Well, I'm sure Toyinza want to without eating money. Since we are talking about our relationship with money, maybe we can start with your own relationship with money. How have you related to money? Are you friends? Are you enemies? Is it a means towards an end, or is it an end in itself?
Simanyi na wentandikira, so kanjira mpuliriza.
Neddatandikira w'otuuse wennyini, sente zo waziriddeko oba okyalinze kufunayo akakanga k'olyoka ozirye?
Nzirya.
Ozirira mu ki? Ozirya mu ngeri ki?
Holiday. Kwambala. Ndi wano nkyalwana ne mutabani wange njagala muteeka mu kitanda ky'oba olaba mbadde ngamba kanjira.
Okay, well, ate tusobodde okuwulira ku holiday n'engoye. Bakyala bo waliwo by'omanyire, but you can't take it for granted kubanga abalala babiteeka mu birala. Abamu kati otuuka obulamu ne butandika okukyuka n'oba ng'ate oyina extreme sort of either sports or whatever things that you want to do that would have been out of the ordinary. Ogenda ng'okulinnya Mount Everest or Kilimanjaro for starters, n'owulira nga that's the life goal now, one way to eat your money. I am planning bali njagala kuvuga kw'emmoroka nve Bulaaya mpaka e Uganda nga tuvuga. We are trying to team up to create a team of 4 or 5 people. Tulabe bwe tusobola okugivuga tugende. That's the life goal, engeri y'okulya ku ssente. And you can do it. I think that might be one way of living your life before it becomes too late. I think there are times we push ourselves too hard. Ogenda okutuuka nga either bamaze okugira ofunyemu stroke, ofunyemu fa naudhu billahi min dhalik, ofunyemu ekyekango, ogenda kulaba nga obulamu tebukyali bwe bubadde.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any dream that you want to achieve then in terms of eating the sentezo?
Get an umrah. That's the main one, to be honest. Owanga butsawa ngamba tali ready naye kati nze mugamba ndoza gwe naye kagenda
kuleka ojja kumuwa ekinyegenyege.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, kati oyogedde kuwewoga sinda kusiibula, because now the part of the difficult conversations is between couples talking about money. Is that an easy one for you? Do you easily talk about money at home?
I think it's so. What's your balance 50-50. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Is it on projects then, or just running the home? Means running a home, but when it comes to projects, maybe that can become an issue of contention.
Haji, ebyo nja byogera olulala ali
Well understood. It's all in there. Barakallahu fikum. Thank you very much. At least utalemera yo mukamori kulemera yo. Ajacha Aida nze wo, then I go to Mariam. Aida K, assalamu alaikum. Hello, Aida K, 5 minutes past 10 o'clock already.
Warahmatullahi
Wa
wabarakatuh.
alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Sikubusa mbalya sente zaabwe, please.
Wanji Stebo.
What's your relationship with your money? Sikubusa mubalya sente zaabwe.
Lwaki Sheikh?
Sikubusa. Naam, sikubusa mubalya sente. Wanji?
Nzirabika nti nzirya.
Well, sikubusa kubanga mbusa okujja ng'okyewakanidde kubanga y'ensonga lwaki tuli ku program.
Omanyi obulamu buno Sheikh? Obulamu butono nnyo, so wano tukola nnyo. Leka nsooke njogere bwe nti abantu abamu bali wano bakola ne baweereza Uganda, oli ng'ayagala okulya ettooke ng'agamba kangule emyera gino naye ng'ate yandeetaddemu bokisi y'amatooke eyo shift wagikoze ate ogenda ziweereza Uganda. Lwaki togula bokisi y'amatooke n'ebeera awaka n'ogula ebyennyanja ne bibeerawo n'ogula ky'oyagala okulya n'okyetuusako n'otaweereza b'e Uganda. Y'ensobi gye tukola. Naye nze buli kye njagala nkyetuusako. Ema njagala genda ku holiday nga ngamba mumanyi mwagala tugendewa ti wano. Okitegeera Sheikh? Nze sente nzirya, sijja kulimba sente zaye nzirya naye ng'ate ngabako n'oggabako. Okitegeera? So nze ngamba abatalya ssente obulwadde bukuluma bakuteeka wali ku kitanda nga tokyasobola nakumira ng'eri abantu beesunga banka kaadi pini namba eri mmeka naye ng'obadde weerumya. Mbadde mpuliriza mwami Makumbi awo ng'ayogera era nze ndi mabega we. Sente nze nzirya.
Haji Katerega tiwamuwulidde ye Allah bwe yali amututeneza yali akwese mu mulandira gw'ekkooko we n'azisimayo.
Nze nzirya sijja kulimba era mubalya ssente nzirya. Bwe kutuuka okwambala nagaana okubeera nga oba Idi ŋŋenda ne ngula wadde naguza olugoye. Mukama ansonyiwe. Waliwo ali Kameme naye ayagala okwogera.
That's perfectly fine. Abeerewo nedda kasomaliriza ng'omukwasa bukwasa.
Ngenda mumukwasa. Mbadde nkugamba nti n'abantu beerumya n'olaba olugoye olulungi n'ogamba olwo nga baluseera. Oluyinza okuba lwa pawundi 2 naye nga Uganda bwe bakusaba buli buweezi oweereza nga 3. Okitegeera? Naye nga gw'ogaanye okweteekamu 2. Nze nzirya. Okitegeera?
Barakallahu fikum. Mupasingireko abadde ayagala okwogera.
Kameme uno.
Kameme tusanyukidde.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sebo gw'oyamba okulya ssente?
Enzo gwange gwa kuzirya buli. Ono yazifumba.
Tozireeta naam.
Ono yazifumba ne tuzirya naye nga mulamu obwo emiramu egyo Kassim ogijjawa naye bannange. Ekituufu kiri nti seeka kirungi nnyo abantu nga bwe buno bwagambye nti abantu bakola nnyo naye buli muntu reward yourself ku ntuuyo zo. Oyinamu omutemu, oyinamu omugabo mu ntuuyo zo. Bannange tutuuyana ne tukolerera abaami ne tugaa tukolerera abakyala, tukolerera abaana, tukola biki famire abantu bayirungi ekitali kibi naye ggwe naawe oyinamu omugabo. So naawe weeriwaadinge ekyoyagala okyetuuseeko. Nze lumu twalina omwami omu e Makka ng'asulidde ddala mu woteeri eyakabya ngamba nze let me tell you bwe nzijja wano naga neesutala buli mwaka nina okugenda e Makka nkole umura ate bwe nzijja njala nsulire ddala mu 5 star nsule bulungi because naga gwe musikisa gwenna okweriwaadinga mu ntuuyo zange omwaka byempiseemu naye nga kanzije wano nsuleko bulungi mbebaze Mungu nkole umura eno nga neebaza Mungu. So I think kikulu nnyo abantu okuba nga tukimanya nti koolidde akayise mu miro ne kakkirira ko ekyambalo ky'oyambadde ekirungi gwe mugabo gwo mu ntuuyo zo.
nayogedde akagero abanyarwanda ke bagamba sebaga nti amavuta y'umugabo n'amuraye ku mubiri nti ekizigo ky'omusajja kyekyo ekimusula ku mubiri nga tonnaba kukyesiiga kiba si kikyo bw'okyesiigako n'omasaamasa nekisulako ku mubiri ne bagamba yanyiridde kibabala awo nzikirizaganya naawe 10 ku kirala ssebo naye bwekijja kati conversation mwawogaye nti mutuula ne muzirya awaka conversation ku nsimbi kubanga abamu olina wootuuka nga bituuka ku by'essente zifuuka conversation enzibu awaka nkakasa kati awo ku njogera gye mubadde mwogeramu mwembi ndaba ng'ekitali kizibu mu nnyimya payslip ziraba zitunuuliraganwa zombi ne zoogerwako
responsible eating tulya responsible essebo
nedda ngamba n'okutuula nti ku mmeeza ne mugamba nti kati bills ziri tukutte tutya kino tukikutte bwe tuti waliwo conversation zituuka sometimes ne bituuka nti mugenda ku investment oyagala kuteeka Uganda ate omukyala yayagala kuteeka wano okakana ng'emboozi ezibu wadde mu njogera yaayo
era ebyo musooka okwalayininga alignment bwegaana awo wabaawo obuzibu
yes
naye kasita mubeera aligned awo kyanguwa mubeera nga buli kimu mukipulaninga mubaako engeri gye mutematema bajeti zammwe ne mulaba nga muyitawo naye ng'ekikulu Mungu bw'abasaasira ne mugatta obwongo nga mukwatagana ku nsonga eyo mu birowoozo awo kiba kyanguye naye oluusi bwe bitakwatagana wabaawo obuzibu nga bwe tugambye nti oluusi antu tukola abalala ne baba juzi nalako kakaaka ku social media yadoze yali mukyala ng'ajookinga n'agamba ng'oli eno mbu oganye okuzaala okola nnyo mbu eri barelative bo mu Afirika bo bazaala abaana osobole okubaweerera ati gamba ogenda okulaba nti mulina okubeera nti mwe ababiri ebirowoozo bikwatagana ne mubeera nga mulina shared interests development ne muzitambuza naye ne mumanya nti era nga mmwe nammwe mulina okukola ki okweriwaadingamu akadde ne mubeera nga mugwako mu ngeri gye mugabanamu ku mugabo gammwe ogwo ne mugunyumirwa
barakallahu fikum sebo tweyanziza nnyo ne Jachaida
nga olugendo lwammwe olwo lwe mugenda okuvuga bo mugende
tuddeko abasajja bana mbaneja twongereko n'abasajja nga 6 nga betutuuka okumeggana n'abasajja mu ddungu ng'olina woosinzidde okumegga naye nga fenna sizes ezo alhamdulillah kati tuli mu kunoonya amaro pickup enaasobola okugenda okwaŋŋanga kubanga eno dream kubanga taata wange ye musajja yasooka okuvuga okugenda e Makka ng'ava e Uganda era yagula moroka mpya mu Walusimbi's garage Toyota n'ava e Kampala mpaka Makka ogenda okudda nga n'esense buse
luli historical lwa byafaayo lulisigala mu byafaayo munoba mulukoze nga Mungu abasaali ne muluggusa ndowooza twetaaga eyo program abiri nga bafuna kwega updates
okola updates yes ali nga ogenda okola updates ng'agenda okuwamba ali wali mu maaso ojira okugibuilding up buildings up then ogireke because actually you can't be rushing yejjani gy'ogamba nti ntuuse Egypt n'ogenda kwegiza mu pyramids Alexandria Alexandria kubanga eri historical nnyo you have a little bit of that which means you end up spending about 2 days in a country osobola okubaako historical areas z'otuukamu some places like Sudan kati ziri very dangerous at the moment so given olutalo lulimu osobola okugwa mu balabe there's all of that kati mulimu a lot of mathematics ordinarily actually route yabadde ennyangu era ye ya Misiri n'ogwe Sudan naye kati oyinza okukwatamu Djibouti katono then n'osika n'ogira Eritrea then from Eritrea n'ogwa Ethiopia ekyemmanga n'ogwa mu Kenya then n'olwoka ojja n'oyingira e Uganda that is possible best route yabadde neya Sudan Juba South Sudan then Nimule no crossing
nokirira
that would have been an ideal situation but I think we'll play it by the ear tulabe inshallah wekinabeera
sente pennyini
barakallahu fikum wewe so sababu kwatuwa obulamu atutuuseeyo tusobole okuba nti ekyo nakyo tukituukako 10:15 we are just wrapping up program Isa Makumbi says you live once and you need to treat yourself era I treat myself, eat good food, dress properly, live in the right place, and invest. Haji, that is my husband's dream, to drive from here to Uganda. He can join. Well, now we are talking. Please let him get in touch. We start adding to the plans now. we had wanted to do from here. We did France, Spain, down into Portugal, into the Algarve, and then back. Kati Russia and ending up in China and go concert Transylvania, the train. But now, since the Ukraine war, that's a line that is gone. But these are ambitions, just like Route 66 in the United States. Yes, so eat good food, live in the right place, and invest at the right place. That is Haji Samakumbi there. Okay, Hajati Mariam, I'm coming to you as the last speaker tonight. Sibre Awatuze Wafe. Hajati Mariam, are you there? You were earlier on video and then you disappeared. I hope you are there now.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Tweyanziza
Amin.
yaffe ntuufu nnyo.
Allahumma amin. Naam.
Tuli mu kulya ssente.
Ennyo.
Ssente tuli mu kulya ssente. Abamu twabanga edda nga tetumanyi kulya ssente. Nga tulowooza nti okola ssente kuzituuma butuumi. Wano nze nina omwami wange ye yalya ssente okuva obuto, kwagamba ng'alinga nga mwami Makumbi. Yatandika okwekozesa mu buto naye nga ye buli waayagala okgenda. Kati ngenda Kenya, akeera bukeezi, ngenda Kenya konza ononayo ki? Ati kakati bagambye omupiira guli Kenya, simanyi okunyumba ekibiki. Tugenda Gindi eno omupiira KCC gye yasambiranga ennyo Jinja wa.
Yes.
Ebyo ebitundu ebyo. Nga ye talina waatagenda, ye yatandika okutambula mu myaka emito ennyo. Kati bagambye Dubai, kakati Dubai eno yeefuna. Kakati kangende, kati nze nga nze omukyala eyali yaakafumbirwa omwami nga ffenna tufumbiddwa nga twefumbiddwa nga tuli bato.
Yes.
Tunaamalako kubanga nga tuyitiridde. Ero ngenda Kenya, ero ngenda Jinja.
Nga naawe owerekera olwo, wawerekeranga
naye
kunyumiza.
Saawerekeranga naye ate n'anteekamu abiti embi. Kubanga kati bwe nabeera naye ebbanga nentandika okumanya nti omuntu aba ayina kutambula, bw'aba ayagala watambula, bw'aba ayagala wagamba. Kati nange okuva nentandika kugamba mu buvubuka bwaffe nga nze mipiira, tugenda ku mipiira. KCC we yabeereranga, KCC eyo vira biki ebyo baasambiranga ennyo KCC eri kuki mugenze wa. Kati bwe yagendanga n'atandika okunjigiriza ne ŋŋamba ono omusajja atambula bw'ati wakikaaji. Kumba yalinga nga training akaana, nange ntandika okufuna biti eyo. Wabanga wa Firigo we yakubiranga ennyo, tuli bavubuka bato. Naye olwagendanga Malaba nga nange twambala bantu bange baganda bange nga tugenda mu Afirigo. Kuba agenza abinjigiriza. Tunaamala okukola tulina okugenda mu Afirigo. Afirigo gyeri biki biki. Nengenda nga mbimanyi. Kwegamba ye n'akyakala buli we yayagalanga okgenda. Talina gy'atagenzi. Kuba abantu babeera wano e London nga tebaagala na kutambula. Naye ye wabeera n'agenda e Dubai, n'agenda e China, n'agenda e France, n'agenda n'omubuuza nti China obadde ononyi. Njaba kumanya bumanya nsi eyo bwetambula bwefaanana. Ye mugamba sangako omuntu nja kumanya bumanya. Era aliwo twamusekera kuba yava wano n'agenda e China, tali saakinze, tamanyi date ki. Yagenda okutuukayo nga bali mu banka holidays abo. N'agamba nasuuze mu hoteeri ewiiki n'ama nga siina gyendaga kuba bank holiday ba celebrating ennaku nga 3.
New Year yaabwe ebikujjuko biwanvu wabirwawo.
N'agamba kinga nasaliddwa nze omuntu yagenze male ennaku 5 nga ntambula kibuga kyonna naye ng'ekibuga kiggale. N'agamba nina okuddayo ate bagaddewo nina okuddayo. Kati badi chance bwe yaddayo era mu biseera si biwanvu yamala emyezi nga 3 naga azizeeyo China. Bwe yaddayo n'ava ku airport n'akwata kabu n'agenda gyagenda okusula. Oba oli yamulabiriza bulabizi oba wa kabu yamubba passport nemubulako. Passport nemubulako n'anoonya passport atukubidde abange passport embuze kuffe passport ebula ebeera mu bulago. Tisimanyi na bwe yambuzeeko kubanga bonna omusajja yanzije ku gundi ku airport okuntwala ku hotel nga nina passport okutuuka ku hotel nga sigiina era saayingidde mu hotel kuba tebacekinga ini nga tolina nga tolina passport. Yagenda nasula mu ntebe awo ku hotel ebweru bagamba tetucekinga muntu atalina passport. Era okukkakkana Bannayuganda baayaba babeera mu ebyokusuubula biki bye baamuyamba naye bye yakubira bamanyi bye bamutwala ne bamusuza naye nga tasobola kucekinga ini paka lwe yafuna ekipapula ku embasi n'alyoka akomawo. Era bwe yatuuka wano ne bamutawaanya nnyo wano ku airport kubanga baba bakulowooza ogenzeyo emyezi 3 nodda ate nodda nga passport togina balowooza balanjaga oba wagitunze. Era bamutawaanya nnyo bamusibaawo ku airport ne bamubeezaawo ne bamala okumucekinga ebbanga ddene ne balyoka bamuta. Naye nga okulya ssente kweyongera bweyongeza ate kati bwe tukuze kubanga bw'okula ng'otandika okuga nti naye ate kati nkyakolerera ki sikyalina gwe nkolerera. Abaana bakuze bagenda ne bagamba n'okugamba akati mami mugende negundi ono talina tayimu mufune holiday ne bakwano bo genda negundi mwekuŋŋanye mugende. Balulu twayagalanga nnyo ogamba n'agenda ne family olumu gundi temufunye holiday awamu. Kolagana ne mukwano gwo mufune holiday mugende mutambule. Nze sikyalina kyenzikwatirira ssente gamba nti nzitereka ate nga sizidiibuuda budiibuuzi naye nga ekisaanidde kyensobola nsobola okukikola okisaasaanyiza ku bulamu bwange kubanga end of the day ffe yingini bwe tebaamu oyiro tesobola kukola kutambula. Weewo Mr. Kayira. Tulina okukoona ssente. Omwana yagamba okulya ssente si kulya mwana.
Mpulidde nnyawo ate gw'oziriridde akabanga.
Okulya ssente si kulya.
Amina. Ajatire Mama, you are the final person tonight, inshallah. Let's have you and then Haji Katerega is saying good night. Yes, barakallahu fikum. We are also wrapping up, Haji Katerega. In about 2 minutes, we should be going away. Thank you so much for this interesting topic, says Aisha Masimbi. Yes, Hajati Mawia, are you there? Or if you're not at work, please, Zekatufune as the last speaker tonight, and then we can call it a night. It's been a brilliant night, and thank you very much for all your contributions. Hajati Mawia, Ndabaze, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ngeddobozi liri wansi nnyo ng'atali ya ssente ya Rabbi.
Ndi mulwadde mushrik.
Oh, sorry. Allahumma shfiki shifa'un la yughadiru saqaman. Saba Allah akusuuse nnyo.
Allahumma amin.
Amin. Ensimbi oziridde otya?
Zonzirya.
Wangi?
Zonzirya.
Ennyo. Otya?
Sebonyaabonya nze we zibeerawo kye njagala nkifuna.
Naam. abakyala bensinze okuwulira in tonight's conversation abakyala babadde nnyo so open and blunt about their ability okulya ku ssente zaabwe nga tebalina gwe beebuuzizaako. Excuse me, which I find very, very interesting. Era Nusura akadde katukutte bukwasi ajja ati Nusura ndaba akadde katukwatiddeyo naye naye badde kirungi nnyo okuwulira at least kulya ssente. Ajja tirema kiki ekikulumaaluma bugonvu ki obwagala okulemya okulya ssente?
Nkugamba era bwagala kunnamya kulya ssente bwo. Ova olaba kati nina oziriira ddala.
Nsanyusiddwa nnyo the impression that people have, especially relationship ekitegeze etandise.
Okwongeramu zirya.
Naam?
Zo kati nja ziriira ddala nnyo ate.
Naam. Kubanga waliwo olwogaana ozirya ne zigendera ate mu bujjanjabi n'ogenda okakana ng'omuntu expenditures zigenze mu bujjanjabi. Ogenda okakana omusajja abadde omu ku babadde basinza ssente mu Uganda, Keith Muhakanizi, eyali secretary to the treasury. Ssente zaffe zonna ze aziinako access, yabadde ayina like everything. Yagenze okufa nga bamaze okumwetoolooza, bamututte e India, bamututte e Germany. The amount of money that was spent apparently president yatuuka n'agaa nti essente zonna ezeetaagisa ku bujjanjabi bwe avail that money. Ono ye musajja atukoledde ssente. But it got to a point where even that already, subhanallah, eddusu lindakidde ya rabbil alamin. Okakana nga Keith Muhakanizi ends up dying nga ne ssente tasobodde kuzirya zonna ziresseewo omutitimbe gw'ensimbi. So was the governor owa Central Bank, Emmanuel Tumusiime Mutebire, who also bw'olaba amafaamu ge yaleka, amayumba ge yaleka, but I don't know whether he actually abantu abo babaddemu lu conservative nga si balyi ba ssente bulungi nga bwe kyabadde kirina okubeera, but they have ended up there. Have some water? Yes, I will. And at which point I think we should be saying good night. Thank you very much for a very beautiful program. Again, you made the night. It's about our conversations. It's the stories that you bring in here. Hajati Mariam ankoledde ekiro, Hajati Sara ankoledde ekiro, Haji Isa Makubi, Haji Katerega, Aisha Masimbi. Everybody who has spoken tonight actually brings out a different element to the story that we are listening to. Okuraba, what the things that sort of matter. And I think that's the difference between such programs and many of the other programs that we have on the different platforms. Here we come to distress. We sort of get things off our chests. Sometimes you don't even think about something until, of course, someone mentions something and then it wakens up something in you that you get to remember. Ajati Mariam ended up going down memory lane now, reliving those days of football and, you know, and Africa band, and then Haji Isa Makumbi and all his dancing days in California and so on. These are things that matter. It starts with you. It's with you. It starts with you. If you are fine, because if you take very good care of yourself, then chances are you will definitely look after others pretty well. The former president of Nigeria, President General Olusegun Obasanjo, was asked, he's actually farming now. Bi-idhnillah, I might, before the end of this year, go to visit him on his farm. If he's still alive, at least we have an appointment that is set in stone. So he was asked, how has he managed Oksigaranga Achari fit? He's almost 90, but he's perfectly fine. He's able to walk. He's doing stuff. And he said the word red. So it's rest, it's exercise, it's diet. Kwekulia said, rest, make sure at least you can get 7 hours of sleep in a day. It doesn't have to be in one block. Also, what 4 hours and 3 hours elsewhere. No funamuka siesta probably during the day. No funako ka quick nap, ka 2 hours, 3 hours, or 2 hours. Then no 5 hours at night, or vice versa. As long as you have 7 hours of sleep in a day, you are good to start. Would have gone to 9 hours, but 7 hours is acceptable. Exercise. Emirimu egirimu okutuula, oli muvuzi wa Uber, oli mukozi wa care home. Care home, actually, you're not sitting too much because you're moving around, but there are times when you spend a significant chunk of your time sitting down. Office workers, you are in office behind a computer and you're spending a lot of time sat down. Within every 1 hour, find 10 minutes that you can just stand up and make sure your body, you regulate the flow of blood inside your body. Beyond that, go to the gym if you can't. Do an exercise, walk. Baberanga Uganda, ne Kenya actually mostly. Nga abayindi bamara okulya emmere, olumala okulya emmere ne bakwata mwami mukyala abaana ne batandika okutambula mu koransi. Okulaba bakoze nga half mile ne bakakomawo. Tugamba bano bali ku ki Arabia bamara okulya emmere ate ne bagenda ne bagijjamu nga tenaana kutuula mu digestion. They had something. And I think these are some of the things that we can pick. So Obasanjo says it is rest for R, exercise for E, and diet for 3. Wefe kulya bulungi. Okulya bulungi tekitegeeza kulya bisavusavu, tekitegeeza lya bulungi. Lya emmere eya diet n'asobola okuba nti keeping longer and safer. 31 minutes past 10 o'clock. That's the end of tonight's program. Come, let's talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We will be back next time, next Tuesday, as usual, 8 p.m., inshallah, with another very interesting topic. Please just drop me a line. As long as you bring a topic, inshallah, topic one that is out of boundaries. All topics can be discussed. The only difference is we just do it decently. Isma Mubyuma, thank you very much. Hayati Abiba.
Sheke webale nnyo webalire ddala katukusabire ogende Nigeria otufunire yata idea empya.
Allahu Amin.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much. Barakallahu fikum. Irado Zamaria Muagabnet, inshallah. I wish you all the best in your journey to Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mbasubiro kubara wate next Tuesday, inshallah.